The newspaper article I chose is Japan No Menace from the Washington Post, published on the 25th of October 1905. In the article, the United States evaluated Japan as a rising power that would not pose threats to U.S. interests. Thus, there was no need for containment nor confrontation. Although victorious in the Russo-Japanese War, Japan did not seem to intend to create its own sphere of influence in Asia, close to Western influence. At the same time, the US was confident that the Japanese would not develop the economic and industrial capacity to compete with the United States. Japan had opened up and rapidly modernized, with both economic and military expansions. It was undeniably a rising power. Although the power transition theory makes the assumption that all rising powers are challengers to the status quo, some challengers don't necessarily seek to alter the international order, and thus can be accommodated as they pursue national interests within the limits of the existing international system. Japan was on a path of expansion, but at this point of time its expansion was carried out through close cooperation with the West, and Japan strived for international acceptance as near equals to major Western powers rather than establishing itself as a regional hegemon. According to Goddard and When Right Makes Might, status quo powers tend to evaluate a rising power's intentions through the politics of harm and the politics of interest. From the politics of harm perspective, Japan had been expanding militarily in Asia, engaging in wars with China and Russia, emerging as the victor, which may be seen as a sign of aggressive intentions. However, Japan also seemed to signal that it is willing to align its aims with those of the existing great powers. Britain saw Japan as a potential ally that can help contain Russia and maintain order in Asia, while Japan was also seeking Western acceptance into the international stage. This led to the Anglo-Japanese alliance in 1902. The news article mentions that Japan continued to uphold the alliance with the British after the Russo-Japanese War for the preservation of the common interests of all powers in China, and the principle of equal opportunity for the commerce and industry of all nations in China. It was willing to keep China open, and it would not try to push the Western powers out. At the same time, the article also reassured readers that Japan had no intentions on the Philippines, and that Japanese industry would not be able to outcompete the United States. Thus, the interests of the rising Japan and the status quo US and Asia coincide more than contradict each other. It is also costly to contain or confront a rising power, as Japanese expansion up to 1905, when the article was written, seemed to pose no harm to the economic and territorial interests of the West and Asia, and also kept Russia in check. The US decided that Japan was a rising power that can be accommodated.